Hey everybody, Madeline here to talk about Saturn stationing direct. When Saturn goes direct, karmic cycles are going to break and we're going to start seeing new beginnings. Saturn is the great karmic teacher, and when it goes retrograde, it pulls each one of us inward and forces us to look at our shadows and confront ourselves basically and reflect on our patterns and take responsibility for our part in things, hopefully, and basically mature, grow up. And Saturn in Pisces is emotional waters. And when Saturn is in retrograde in Pisces, it churns up the emotional waters and brings up old emotional, painful memories and feelings can show up that are uncomfortable. And it can trigger us to escape these feelings and basically cause us to sort of feel an emptiness, a spiritual emptiness, which then causes us to repeat karmic cycles. So when Saturn is in retrograde, we meet that point again where we usually make a karmic choice. But our souls are growing in this period. It is a spiritual transit. It is about an inward evolution where we confront that part of us, that emptiness, that part where we seek something on the external to heal something on the internal. And we know it doesn't work now. So we're really facing that and making big strides and resisting the old ways, going back to something that isn't good for us. Painful memories can show up and it can bring feelings of guilt and shame. And we're really sort of going through a process where we're realizing where we were wrong. And this isn't for punishment, it's to expose our karmic patterns so that we can cleanse our karmic waters. Pisces is the end of the astrological sign. So when it is in Pisces, when Saturn moves into Pisces, it is ending a 29-year cycle. As soon as we clear these lessons, when Saturn is at the end degrees of the cycle, of the karmic cycle, in retrograde, we become so aware of our patterns that we suddenly clear them. We end that's how we end a karmic cycle because we've become aware of it. And in that awareness, we make choices. We're making different choices. We're changing who we are on the inside. We've ended a pattern. We're ending a big pattern, shall we say, that is a destructive pattern, that is a self-destructive pattern. So all of a sudden, you're going to see sudden things dissolve and end out of our lives, like a living situation, karmic relationship could just suddenly end. Um, a parent could pass away because, we're all here with karmic cycles and journeys with our parents. So a parent could pass. We could suddenly, shall we say, a karmic job suddenly ends and we're seeing a new beginning. Again, these cycles are ending, create a vacuum, which sucks in a new beginning. That's how the universe works. As soon as there's a vacuum, it's filled. So we're going to see the new beginnings as the old lives dissolve before our very eyes. Old living situations, jobs, relationships, partnerships, somewhere, wherever Capricorn rules your chart. I'm going to go through all the 12 signs. So, as our awareness grows during this retrograde period, by the time the planet stations direct, we've learned some major lessons because during the period that Saturn was in retrograde in July until now, we may have felt a lot of stagnation. Saturn would have shut and blocked a lot of things so that we really aren't so busy that we're not reflecting, right? And so we may have not had clarity until now. The clarity is building now as Saturn stationing direct, but there would have been a period of feeling of stagnancy and blocks and emotional heaviness. And like I say, karmic cycles definitely may have returned for a lot of people because we have to sometimes see in the retrograde period, we're reflecting as we're sometimes repeating the karmic cycle. Maybe that brings clarity to the reflection period, as it were. So a lot of job pressures could have been happening for a lot of people, a lot of confusion about our shall we say, path, our direction, spiritual numbness, heaviness, depression, but this is also that we confront our unresolved karma and face truths we haven't wanted to see. Old relationship boundaries are tested. The big chance, as like I say, that spiritual emptiness shows up. It could spark relapses, like I say, going back to things that aren't right for us, that are self-destructive. And we're basically facing and gaining clarity of the root cause of our karmic cycles and the emptiness that causes us to make the choices that we make that cause another karmic cycle, which we don't want to do right now. So Saturn direct brings us karmic clarity and the fog lifts. And we're basically back on our destiny, and the destiny resumes its flow. And we start to see the beginnings of a new stability. You can feel it in the energy. So Pisces is the energy of emotions, right? And like I said, when Saturn was in retrograde in Pisces, it churned up those emotions. Well, now that's all going to stabilize. Things are going to feel calm. And Saturn stationing direct is going to bring us a lot of discipline and maturity. And we're going to be able to make very big decisions, long-term decisions. We have a clarity about that. We know what we want now. We know what our new cycle is because we've cleared a karmic base choice point. I hope that's clear. We're making choices that are in alignment with our destiny, with a karmic justice. Um, yes, we're aligning with divine order. When we created our karma, we were making choices that were not in alignment with divine order. Karmic Saturn retrograde, we become aware of how we were making choices out of not in divine order, out of alignment with divine order. So, as the planet Saturn stations direct, the energy, like I say, of karmic alignment starts to move forward. There's a momentum building. Things are starting to feel stable. And as this is happening, the universe acknowledges the inner growth, the hard work that we did, and says, you are now ready for the next step. Woohoo! So Saturn stationing direct is going to bring us all a lot of momentum forward in an area where we've done a lot of karmic clearing. And I'm going to go through all the 12 signs and talk about that for each of the sign. All right. See you there. All right, Aries. So Saturn turned a retrograde in your 12th house. It has been in your 12th house for about 3 years, working on your subconscious mind. And it might have been a very heavy experience, especially when Saturn's in retrograde, where you would have been reflecting on deep subconscious sort of turmoil that were unresolved. Because when Saturn's transiting your 12th house, it's time to really resolve some big, deep issues so that you can really progress in your next cycle without them. So you may have had some pretty disturbed sleep, some dreams, some sort of reminiscent dreams of trauma or your peace. It would have been difficult to find peace in this transit for you. But this was to create a understanding of your cycles so that you're conscious and aware of them. And as painful as it might be to reflect on some of the negative things that have happened in the past, it is the last time you are resolved of this. This does clear it because it has to be processed from a new place. You have to process it from a more mature place, which means you're using it as growth rather than shame. And again, Saturn retrograde is not to bring us punishment, but to bring us awareness and to expose what we need to change about ourselves. So, the things that are going to start opening up for Aries is long distance travel, perhaps spiritual retreat, um, foreign If you have, because we're going to look at this grand water trine for you, everybody here on the 12 signs. And when I look at this grand water trine, the Mercury is in your eighth house, which is financing. And then we have Jupiter in retrograde in your fourth house. And so Saturn in direct in your 12th house is really a relief in that energy that I was just talking about, where you weren't feeling very good about certain decisions and just sort of a reflection about um, what needs to sort of be a part of your new cycle and not a part of your new cycle. So, like I say, foreign opportunities for travel can open up. Your expenses are going to stabilize because it's trining your eighth house with Mercury there. So, there's sort of a karmic lifting up. You know, a karmic burden is really lifted off your shoulders. Um, and with that fourth house placement, there's a connection to your fourth house, family, long-term financial security. You know, this is a transit where you do feel a certain amount of stability open up for you in your finances, in your living situation. Now, you could also be clearing karma with your mother there with Jupiter in retrograde in your fourth. Mercury in the eighth house might be about communication, the truth. You may not be honest with your mother, and that might be the karma that you've created. So there is some sort of honest openness in your communication that is starting to happen here that's going to clear your, that is a part of you clearing your cycle, your karmic cycles. So you're going to be opening up to being more honest, more direct, more, but so with that sort of because you've got this cleared conscious, so you don't have to sort of operate in any sort of deceptive way. Sometimes just that guilt and that shame can have a subconscious operating energy field where you're attracting judgment and challenges. So this is all transforming now. And then it could source in mother karma because of it trining Jupiter in your fourth. And it does also involve long-term financial security, feeling stable. So this is the area where Aries are creating a karmic cycle from some sort of trauma-based subconscious turmoil, emotional turmoil from a past life. Usually that's the 12th house that has you operate in, you could say that has you causing karma between finances, family, and property. And that can play out in a variety of different ways. So you're preparing now when when Saturn is about to move into your first house. You're going to have a clean slate. You've become a new person. You've cleared out some debris from your lower density subconscious. This transformation, that's the other thing about Mercury in your eighth house. Through communication, you may find you have go through a very transformative experience through the truth, through communication. You're clearing your karma in a big way through communication. I would say that it is sourced in the mother that you haven't communicated. So, emotional mother. You don't want to upset. And in general, this is a grand water trine, so it is emotional. So this could be karma Aries is clearing around not wanting to upset the emotional apple cart. And so you distorted your truth to do that. So the way this is going to look is now, and I hate to say this, but it's possible a parent passes because karma is cleared in your fourth house. And as I said, things can just vanish from our lives when we've learned our karmic lessons. So your lesson here in the karmic wheel of karmic justice, helping you align with divine wisdom or divine harmony, and how we can really operate on this in this realm in alignment with divine flow, is for you to have a spiritual awakening in this Saturn direct because it's in your 12th house, trining all your moksha houses, all your spiritual liberating houses, where you suddenly have this big breakthrough that I know this is going to sound strange, but that we're all going to see this, but that you were afraid for no reason. and that you were just simply kind of afraid of the mystery because it's hitting in these the 12th and the 8th. And so you realize there's nothing to be afraid of in and so you have a big spiritual awakening. You have a liberating freedom from some sort of major debilitating fear in this karmic clearing. The karma was sourced in a fear that is now cleared. Now, Saturn rules your 10th house of career. So this is going to upcycle you in your career zone because there's this, don't forget Saturn's about to move into your first house where you do become a whole new version of you. I mean, you are going to create a whole new dimension. You're going to be, you, first of all, you're starting with a clean slate. You're starting fresh new version of you is being born here. You're initiating a very long-term new 29-year cycle. And you're going to be completely changed by the end of the 3 years that Saturn is in your first house. And so this grand water trine, as Saturn is trining your fourth house, you may get some, if you're trying to sell a house or you're doing some sort of a project with your house or property, real estate, there's a very beautiful reward coming in. Saturn, when it leaves a sign, it leaves a big reward for the karmic hard work that you've done. So then Saturn is going to bless your career house. Like I say, something goes forward in your career, and something also is blessed about your family, your living situation. If you're selling a property, this is the sort of transit that would indicate a property sells, you buy a property, or you make income on a property. But there is something that goes forward with your career, a job, and then also liberating you because these are the liberating, spiritually liberating houses. So maybe you move, you break free from a stagnant situation, and then you step into a much more abundant flow. And you're going to see, shall we say, um, in this, I would say within the next month, you're going to start seeing the momentum building and things going forward with some sort of fourth house financial improvement and blessings that frees you up to travel, or um, you move into a country house. You could move out into the country, and there could be some sort of financial windfall, upgrade in your finances with that Mercury trining everything in your eighth house. And Mercury's going to go into the water trine in about another week and a half. So the first week of December looks really great for you guys, and I'm going to do another video on the planets that are in Saturn. Sagittarius, I decided not to do all the 12 signs anymore. I think I want to go more in depth on each transit because I feel like I rush the 12 signs a bit. So, Aries, that is for now, and then stay tuned for my next video where I will talk about all these planets when Mercury is about to enter Sagittarius. We're going to have a lot of Sagittarius energy going on, which was going to be your ninth house of travel. All right. Have a wonderful night. Namaste.